Welcome back, new viewers of Game Bears. It is time for another sub-special, that being the 600 sub-special. And this time, it is now the Generation 6 Pokemon tier list. So, I'll be ranking every Pokemon from Generation 6 in S tier to F tier based on my personal opinion of them. Their battle powers, their design, like some other things like color scheme or maybe certain abilities I might get, anything that might influence my opinion on them. So, but before we begin, I'd like to thank everybody for helping me get to 600 subs. This is quite the milestone. And here's the 650 subs in the Generation 7 tier list in the future. So, a few ground rules. If there's any Mega Evolutions, which this should be the last generation where you would have to worry about that including Mega Diancie and Ash Greninja, which might as well be a Mega Evolution. And technically isn't a Gen 6 Pokemon, a Gen 7 Pokemon. Those I'm going to ignore because I want to make a separate tier list for those at some point in the future. As for that, any Pokemon that might get an evolution or some sort of regional variant in a future game will not be considered here. We're going to pretend that we're ranking those based on them not existing. Like, for example, Avalugg over here. It's Hisuian form. Pretty much my least favorite Hisuian form, but we're going to put that to the side for this list, since I don't want that to influence my opinion on that. But anyways, other than that being said, I think we should get started with Chespin over here. Chespin. I kinda like this design, pretty neat Pokemon. Not my favorite grass starter, but he's pretty decent, so I'm gonna throw him in the B tier. Quilladin, you suck, F tier. Does anyone like Quilladin? I'll be real, does anyone like Quilladin? Everybody I know, or at least heard of, from their opinion on Quilladin, a lot of people do not like this guy. Like, I've always said back in middle school when Pokemon XY first came out, am I the one who thinks this? It kinda looks like it has the body shape of Gengar with Virizian's color scheme. It's just, it doesn't work. It looks stupid. Like, why do I get the feeling that the developer, or whoever designed Quilladin, was thinking of Gengar at the time and gave him Gengar's body type? That's what it looks like. Anyways, Chestnut. I used to not like Chestnut a lot back in those days, but now, I've warmed up toward it, actually. It's probably the second best of the Kalos starters competitively. And, got a pretty neat design. It's a lot better now than it was in Gen 6, for a multitude of reasons. So, you're gonna go in A tier. You're quite imposing as well. Fennekin? I like Fennekin. Far from my favorite fire-type starter, for those of you who might know, but I think it's adorable. It's basically just Vulpix, though I find Vulpix a bit better in my opinion, but Fennekin's quite up there. Braixen, probably my favorite of the Fennekin line. Well, other than the fact that, again, it's really feminine, and they can be male for whatever reason, in my opinion, and I know there's some reasoning for that, but personally I think the male form should have looked a bit different. And it's not going to be the last time I say that in a future list, oh no. But anyways, alright, Delphox. Don't like it. Don't like Delphox. So there is one thing I forgot to mention. The closer the Pokemon is to the letter tier, the stronger my opinion of them in that tier. Or I guess the more I like them in that tier. So I like Quilladin less than I like Delphox, for example. But anyways, Delphox, do not like his design. Easily my least favorite of the fire starters, the fully evolved fire starters, more specifically from Gen 1 all the way up to Generation 9. And its typing of Fire Psychic's decent, I guess, though Victini I think does it better. I mean, it being a witch is a decent idea, but far from the best design for it. Its stats are somewhat middling. It's got good special attack and good speed, but I don't think its speed's really high enough, especially for Gen 6 standards, to really outspeed a lot of key threats. It's got decent coverage as well. You got Shadow Ball and Dazzling Gleam, which is probably the main coverage moves on it outside of its main stabs. So, I guess there's that. And its ability of Magician kinda stinks, so meh. And now for my favorite evolutionary line of Generation 6. All of them, S tier, right away, right now. Not you, Ash Greninja. Starting with Froakie, that was my starter back in Pokemon X and Y. And, he's so cool, adorable as hell, pretty decent early game. Frogadier, not as cool as Duat in my opinion. I like Duat more as a middle stage starter, but it's still pretty sleek. It's a nice transition between Froakie and Greninja in my opinion. And Greninja, who doesn't like this man? Maybe there's some people out there who don't like it, and again, that's your opinion. But me personally, this man was so cool, and I remember when I first evolved my Frogadier back in X and Y, when those first came out back in 2013, bro, I felt so proud. I was like, this looks awesome. And I had it before the third gym, by the way, because weirdly enough, the game has a weird level scaling. Just weird, like, you get fully evolved starter Pokemon before the third gym in that game. But whatever, it's just some not power scaling, but level scaling issues in that game. But Greninja, like we all know, especially back in Generation 6, it was super good competitively thanks to its ability, hidden ability, Protean. You can even do turn sets with it, and it's frail enough that it can make decent advantage a Focus Sash to get off those very powerful water-type moves boosted by Torrent. Part Dark typing is pretty useful for it. It gets a load of coverage moves. You get U-turn, Power Punch back then if you want to be that person, which I used to do. Rock Tomb, Spikes, Toxic Spikes if you want to evade a strong fighting type hit. It gets Shadow Sneak for coverage, which again, all these pair very, very well with Brodian. And anybody remember when Water Shuriken was a physical attack move in Gen 6 before it was changed to a special move in Gen 7? I have a feeling that was only done because Greninja does have a higher special attack stat than its attack stat. Just slightly higher, from 95 attack to 103 special attack. But, in my opinion, a easily welcome change, even though I still prefer it being a physical move personally. But other than that, enough with Greninja. He's cool, he's sleek, he's awesome in battle, even in Generation 9 despite his nerfs. All that stuff. Bunnelby might be my favorite rabbit-based Pokemon. I'm gonna put you in the B tier. You're a decent early game on, not my favorite regional rodent, but hey, you're pretty good. Well, favorite first stage regional rodent, I should say. Diggersby, I think I like Diggersby more than most people. His design is a little bit derpish, yeah, but I'm gonna put it in high A tier. The reason being, I really like how it is in battle. Y'all know how it gets the ability huge power, right? Off a base 56 attack, may seem a little lackluster. Oh, obviously it is lackluster, but yeah. Little is a bit of an understatement for that. But huge power. Ooh, huge power. This thing hits like a freight train. Choice Band or Choice Scarf this man? I prefer Choice Scarf for the more flexibility, I guess, so you can outspeed key threats. And you don't even have to run Jolly Nature because of it either, so you'll outspeed, well, you don't outspeed more things, but you do just a bit more damage. And gets quite a lot of decent coverage as well. Gunk Shot, Wild Charge, Hammer Arm, U-Turn. This man can learn quite a lot of things and deal massive damage. Plus, and those of you Ursa Luna users out there know this, like myself, Normal Ground is a very good offensive typing, because the two of the three types that resist normal, that being Rock and Steel, Ground can hit those for super effective, so it's a very, very dangerous type combo because of that. And hey, I think I might be the #1 biggest fan of Diggersby, honestly, because of that. I remember using it all the time in the battle, not Chateau, the battle Mason, and it was sweeping things left and right. Paired with my Staraptor back then, it was awesome. And he weighs a Fletchling. A very good regional bird. I'm gonna put you in mid-B tier. Definitely a nice step up from the likes of Pidgeys and Hoot Hoots and Starlies and whatnot. Definitely a decent early bird Pokemon. Fletchinder. I think Fletchinder was probably the very first, like, what am I called, regional bird Pokemon that wasn't part normal type upon evolving. Or still part normal type, I guess I should say. I'm gonna put you in A tier because Fletchinder can actually be pretty decent and competitive as well. I've seen some people use it. Like with fast Will-O-Wisp or Tailwind sets. And now, the bird himself. Who doesn't like Talonflame? This thing's so cool. Fire Flying type may not be the best type combo, but it's still a hell of a cool one. And Gale Wing is pre-nerfed or post-nerfed, it's still very good. It hits like a freight train, even though it only has base 81 attack. There's still a lot of things you can do with that, like Life Orb, for example. Just, there's so many things you can do with it. Sleek design, not my favorite regional bird. Probably, like, of all the regional birds we have at this point, it's definitely number 3 in my opinion. Behind Corviknight and Staraptor, if you want to be a little more specific about it. But you could also get some decent coverage options with a U-turn for pivoting, and since Staraptor is so fast, hey, you get those U-turns off nice and quickly, especially against any bad matchups, get into something better. Now, Scatterbug. Don't dislike enough to be an F tier, it's just not very remarkable, let's just say. I mean, I guess it's got a bit more going on in its design compared to the likes of, say, a Caterpie, but meh. Same as Pupa. A little more going on than the likes of Metapod or Kakuna, but nothing too special about it. Now, Vivian. Vivian is what I like to call beauty, like, not like Beautyfly, but definitely a Butterfree clone done right, in my opinion. Actually pretty decent in battle. I'm going to give it, like, low B tier. Because there's really crazy strategy you can do with it. Give it Compound Eyes with Hurricane, Bug Buzz, either Sleep Powder, well, actually, yeah, Compound Eyes. Either Bug Buzz or Giga Drain, depends on what you're worried about. You want an extra stab damage, go with Bug Buzz. You want to get some healing off, go with Giga Drain. And deal super effective damage to rock types, go with Giga Drain. Hurricane, because with Compound Eyes, Hurricane goes from 70 accuracy to 91 accuracy. And the other two moves are Sleep Powder, which again, thanks to Compound Eyes, Sleep Powder becomes a 97 accurate move. So it's only going to miss maybe 3% of the time, which is very, very unlikely to happen. And then Quiver Dance just set up on your foe with a Focus Sash, you're unlikely to get one-shotted. Because of it, you just Quiver Dance a few times, Vivian can sweep teams because of that. Even in the current generation of Generation 9, I've seen some things you could do with this man, and it is strong. And because of that, Vivian's going to go up in the B tier. That, and I do kind of like its gimmick where, depending on, like, in the 3DS era, I don't know if this is still the case in the Switch era, probably is. But depending on what region you're playing the game in, or whatever region your 3DS/Switch is set in, it'll change its forms upon evolving from Sweepa. And I think that's a pretty decent gimmick. You want a Wintry form? Evolve into a Wintry area, like set your 3DS to a Wintry region or something. So if you want a specific form. And me personally, I like the winter form, so I always try to evolve in the winter area, and it sometimes affects it in-game as well. Anyways, Litleo. Litleo, I kind of like it. I'm putting it in high B tier. It's adorable, it's a fire normal type, which, again, you all know how much I like fire types. And it's okay, really, game if you don't have a fire type, or, you know, you're just not using Talonflame for whatever reason, but that's up to you. Fire Roar, not the strongest in battle, but I kind of like its design, honestly. More so the male form of its fiery mane. Though I'd say that it's kind of bland, and again, not the best in battle. And for some ungodly reason, it gets Moxie? Why? I mean, you can do some cool things with it, I guess, but why? Why would you ever just use its special attack stat? And Fire Normal, again, not the most creative type combo, I guess. But it's got some decent offenses, though neither type can touch rock types or even neutral, so be careful of that. Flabébé, don't be such a whiny Flabébé, you're gonna go in C tier. Actually, better yet, D tier. Nothing too special to say about you other than I did come up with the don't be a whiny Flabébé thing back in middle school, so that's one thing, I guess, but yeah, other than its flower being able to change color or whatever, like, there's just different colored flowered ones you can buy, or not buy, catch. It's nothing else really going for it, I guess, and it's the poster child of the fairy typing too, I guess. Yeah, Fluid, it's cute, I guess. That's about it, though. I think it just gets slightly larger and that's it. And it's floating on the flower rather than sitting on it or whatever. That's about it. Florges, despite how very high its special defense is, it's not the best thing in battle. It's got a very high base stat total because of it, of 552, which is very good. Giving you some merit to actually use it, but just outside of taking a few special hits, it doesn't really do anything else all that remarkably. I guess it could be a decent support mon because of that as well, and it gets the symbiosis ability, so you want to switch an item over to something. But okay, you can go ahead and do that, like with Fluttermanes, for example. I've seen people, like, after Fluttermane's used up its booster energy, give it like a Specs or something, and it could deal extra damage plus have that speed. That's something I guess you could do with it, which would be very, very dangerous. But outside of that, I mean, it'd just be easier if you just set up Sun to activate the photosynthesis, right? That's what I'd prefer doing if I were them. You don't have to waste like your whole Pokemon slot on a somewhat lackluster Pokemon. So, cool strat, there's just better ways to deal with it. And get some grass type moves as well, which I understand why Florges isn't a grass type. Because it's a fairy that's, like, inhabited a flower, not the flower itself, so that's why it's pure fairy type. For those of you who are constantly complaining, why is it a grass type as well? That's why, there you go. But anyways, Skidoo. Actually, Skidoo, you're alright. Yeah, I'll put you up here. You're alright, Skidoo, I like your design, and the fact that you also double as a motorcycle. Fun fact, the Skittlon is based on motorcycles, which is pretty cool, not just mountain goats. So yeah, Skidoo, you go right there. Go-Goat, probably one of my favorite Pokemon this generation. Like Go-Goat, it's very, very cool. Very, like, pretty decent in battle, not the best in battle. It gets a unique ability called Grass Pelt, where if you're using it either in grassy terrain or on grassy fields in just casual play, it'll get a 50% defense buff, which is Go-Goat's worst stat, weirdly enough. And Go-Goat's also another one of those Pokemon in this generation with a weirdly high base stat total of 531, I believe. Despite that, it's just not the best. It doesn't really have the tools to really handle it, like really get anything done. Sure, it gets Milk Drink, which, mind you, male Go-Goats using Milk Drink. Anybody else find that a little weird? Whatever. That goes well with its bulk. I remember using a Grass Pelt one once in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, my old copy of Alpha Sapphire that I still have, by the way. And it was so hard to kill. Paired it with a Grassy Terrain setter, long before Grassy Surge was even an ability, and the thing just wouldn't die. I think if I remember correctly, I think my moveset on it was, and this is at the time where I didn't know Grassy Terrain had the power of Earthquake, but Horn Leech for recovery, Milk Drink for more reliable recovery, Bulk Up for building my defenses, and I think I said Earthquake. I think Earthquake, if I remember correctly, was my moveset in there. And again, you just wouldn't, and I think I give it leftovers as well. I don't remember, but I think I give it leftovers, and it just would not die. And I want to recreate something like that in Scarlet and Violet eventually, which I'm surprised just now that I'm thinking about that, but yeah, I'm going to do that at some point. Anyways, Pancham. Pancham's cool. You're going in the A tier. I like Pancham. Cool, smug, looks like it'll sock you in the face and not give a shit. Now, Pangoro, despite it not being the best in battle, I'm putting it S tier. This thing is just so freaking cool. This thing is Po from Kung Fu Panda. But what if he was edgy? What if he didn't give a shit, huh? What if he was a mob boss, right? Like, this man looks like he'll rough you up and rough you up again. And rough you up one last time, too, just for fun. He's so cool and just I like Pangoro a lot, even if it doesn't have the best type combo. Another Pokemon like Urshifu, single strike style, kind of pull that typing off better. But other than that, it also hits extremely hard. Furfrou, easily my least favorite Pokemon this generation. Not as much as I dislike Drifblim in the Gen 4 tier list, but Furfrou, look, I'm an absolute dog lover. This bear here, I'm a dog lover. Furfrou is lame as hell compared to any other dog Pokemon. Name any other dog Pokemon in all of Pokemon. Even, I don't know, somebody 10 years from now tell me a new dog Pokemon. I bet I'll like that dog Pokemon more than this one. Furfrou, like, this design is kind of lackluster compared to other dog Pokemon. It's not cute, it's not sleek compared to other dog Pokemon. And I've always hated its gimmick, which hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll see this in Pokemon Legends EA at some point. But I've always hated its gimmick of being able to change its fur. It kind of, I mean, I guess it goes with the theme of Pokemon X and Y, with beauty and whatnot in that game. But you can change its form, and it's a little lackluster, 500 Pokédollars. And here's the worst part about it. If you put that thing in a PC, in those games, and in the Gen 7 games as well, it'll go right back to its base form. Why? It can stay in its furred form, whatever it's called, in the PC. Why does it have to change back to its normal form for that? What's the point of that? You just wasted 500 Pokédollars for what? I know in Pokemon games 500 Pokédollars is nothing, but come on, you're gonna waste my time and money like that? Really? If I have to box it for whatever reason? It's just forcing you to keep it on your team for an arbitrary reason, and for what? It's just dumb. I don't like that gimmick. And Furfrou's really not the best in battle. I guess it could take some hits, but there are far better Pokemon that are far tankier and do way more than just let me stand here and deal out normal type damage mostly, and then any other coverage moves don't really do a lot. So Furfrou, you're my least favorite Pokemon this generation, and I'm sorry that, well, I say sorry because you're a dog, but anything else I'm not sorry for. I don't care. That's the only thing I'm saying sorry for when it comes to this. Okay, Esper. Love its name. That's pretty cool and creative. And its design? Not the best. So Esper, you go here. The eyes are a little creepish, I guess. And if you see it opening its ears, it has little yellow rings in it. I guess it's supposed to contain its psychic power or some garbage. But Esper, you're okay, I guess. Meowstic, A tier. I've always liked Meowstic. Both the male and female form. I think I'm a little more partial towards the female form, though. And am I the only one who thinks the male form kind of reminds me of Miles Tails per Hour from Sonic the Hedgehog series? I mean, they're yellow, two tails. Their hairstyles are kind of similar. Not the same, obviously, but kind of similar. Anyways, they're both pretty decent in battle, even though the male form is the better one in battle because of its prankster ability. You can do, like, well, besides fake out pressure, you can set up screens. You can do what I did in my VGC Darkrai team. Set up gravity for more accurate moves. Domain expansion Dark Void, excuse me. That's it, though. Just sets up things with prankster, like any other prankster user for that matter. It's not like, say, Grimmsnarl, where it has a good attack stat and can actually deal some damage with it. It's not like Tornadus, where it's super fast and, again, can also do more damage and set up weathers. Which I think Meowstic can set up weather? I don't entirely remember, I'll be honest. And as for the female Meowstic, it gets competitive, so you can use that as a way to punish, like, intimidate users. And it gets some decent coverage as well, Energy Ball and Thunderbolt, for example. And I think it has a slightly higher special attack stat than its male counterpart, if I remember correctly, but it's definitely much less used compared to the prankster variant of the male form. Anyways, Honedge. Alright, Honedge, super cool. A tier. A living sword Pokemon, how the hell is that not badass? My only gripe with it is, according to one of its Pokedex entries, if you try to wield it, it'll grab your arm with its weird blue arm thing, whatever the hell that is, and it'll suck the life energy out of you, because, yeah, that's what ghost types just do nowadays. They suck the life energy out of you. Every single one of them do it. But other than that, this thing is super cool. Awesome, shiny, neat design. The very first Ghost Steel type. Awesome. Doublade. I think I'm going to put you low S tier. What? Hey, you know what they say. 2 is better than 1. Not always, but in this case, it's definitely better than 1. 2 swords is better than 1. What's not to like? 1 sword is already as cool. 2 swords is twice as cool and twice as strong. As well, I always liked using Eviolite variants for it. My only gripe with it is it doesn't get guillotined for obvious reasons, because it has the no-guard ability. So imagine it having no-guard, you're out on some sort of trick room team or some garbage, and you just one-shot everything with guillotine. So obviously the devs thought of that and didn't give it that. Now, Aegislash, alright, S tier. This thing's too cool. Not there, I want him here. Stance Change is such a wonderful ability, even with its nerf in Generation 8 lowering its attack or defensive stats depending on which form it's in. It's still crazy good. Actually was one of the Pokemon I used in Pokemon Ultra and Ultra Moon's battle tree for super single battles, where I remember, I still have the Aegislash, but I remember that I gave it the moveset of King Shield. It was a special attacking moveset, by the way. King Shield, Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon, and I think Sacred Sword for physical coverage, and because of its high attack stat, you can still get some good damage out of it, even though it's not stab, and it can be good for dealing with any pesky dark types, like Bisharp, that might try to block your path. And then it was holding weakness policy, so I'll always use King Shield first turn, especially if you're against a physical attacker. You'll pretty much always get that off, activate the weakness policy, because they will use the AI will use a super effective move against you. They're literally programmed to do that, and while you're in your shield form, you can get off that attack, which is crazy. Though you don't have to always run Sacred Sword, you can always run Shadow Sneak if you want to. Probably the best user of Shadow Sneak, which is absurd. But Aegislash, also super cool design. I'd love to wield it if it was real, though it'd probably have the same problem as its pre-evolutions, being able to drain your life energy. But yeah, the one thing is, why doesn't Aegislash get Guillotine, or does it? I don't remember. But if it doesn't, it should have, because it doesn't have no guard anymore, so it wouldn't be broken. Other than that, this thing is super, super cool, and I love it. Alright, Spritzy. Spritzy's cute, I guess. I'll put it in, like, high D tier. Definitely cuter than Flabébé, in my opinion. Yeah. Doesn't really have much else going on for it. I guess it nicely floats or whatever around. Aromatisse. It's okay in battle and decent on Trick Room teams. I don't think I dislike it as much as most people, but it's based on a Can-Can dancer. And if it's based on a Can-Can dancer, why the fuck can they be male? And the fact that they can, I don't know, and it's sticking out its leg like that just doesn't look right either. I'm putting you a low E tier. Swirlix. Swirlix is funny. It's, like, I don't like it nearly as much as I like Vanillix, let's say. But a cotton candy Pokemon's pretty cool. I don't care what nobody says. I'm gonna put you mid-Bs here. Slurpuff. Okay. Slurpuff's another Pokemon that I've always liked for some strategies you can pull with it. I'm gonna put it mid-A tier, because Belly Drum, Unburdened Citrus Berry is fucking ridiculously broken. And I absolutely love that. If this were in the current generation, which it's not, like Terra fighting with Drain Punch to get some recovery back, would be absolutely absurd. With that huge speed stat, I don't know, maybe pair it with a Fridge Giraffe or a Zarina with their respective abilities to block priority moves. This thing will not die. This thing will not die with that type of support on its side. You maybe give it a Life Dew user as well. Like Play Rough, Belly Drum, Drain Punch, and whatever the last move you want, do whatever you want with it. That's all you're gonna need. All you're gonna need. Well, if it learns Zen Headbutt or a ground type move, maybe that for those pesky poison types that might wall those two typings, but yeah. Slurpuff, super cool in battle. It's got a funny design to me. I don't know, I really like it. That and its Pokedex entry going on about how it has a smelling sense 1,000 times stronger than a human being, so it can smell things from very far away. Which I think, I could be wrong, but I think Slurlix is partially some sort of dog-bear thing. I don't know. Inkay. It's got some level of adorableness to it, but that's about it. That and its evolutionary method is, while unique, how the fuck are you supposed to know you can evolve it that way without looking it up? I still remember back when this game for X and Y first came out, and I was trying to evolve this damn thing, and I just didn't know how. I had to look it up. And I'm just wondering, okay, flip your 3DS upside down. Like, how are you supposed to know that? Really, how are you supposed to know that? Anyways, though, that evolution is somewhat worth it. I say somewhat because Malamar, super cool design. Yeah, super cool design. I do like this thing quite a bit. It's alright in battle, not the best. Its typing is what lets it down. Psychic Dark, no resistances unless you want to count that immunity to Psychic type moves, which is its only defensive profile. That is ass. That's just garbage. It just makes it really hard to use this thing defensively if need be. While its design is super cool, it being the very first user of Contraria as well, has a signature move that not a lot of people know about, Topsy-Turvy. So it's a good way to punish any setup users that might try to think, oh, let me set up on you. Nope. Topsy-Turvy, say an Ogerpon, for example, uses Sword Stance. And after it terrestrializes in its fire form, let's say, now it's at +3 attack, because of body aspect and whatnot. Use Topsy-Turvy on it, oop, now it's at -3 attack, which is a pretty decent move, actually, which I could see being very useful on like a Prankster Pokemon. Which, if Malamar got Prankster, that would actually be sick. I really hope that becomes, like, a move more widely used by other Pokemon in the future. And, like, give it to, like, a Prankster Mon in the future. That, like, if it was given to a Mon with Prankster, I could see that move getting some more attention. And some more use. Other than that, its combination of using Superpower, Psycho Cut, and, like, Night Slash, since it gets a lot of high critical hit moves, with Contraria, I think is pretty decent as well. Or you can do Choice Scarf sets with, Trick. I've seen those, or Slash Switcheroo, and those are basically the same move. I've seen that being used as well. So Malamar's got a lot of things going for it, other than that god-awful typing. Like, conceptually, that typing seems really cool, but in execution, especially in battle, just sucks ass. Like, if fairy types didn't exist, the typing would be better. It'd only be weak to bug. Have that quad weakness to bug. Because if that typing existed before fairy types existed, I could see it being a bit better. But again, the lack of resistances just really lets it down. As well as it's pretty awful offensive coverage, since neither type can charge duck types or even neutral. Other than that, Binnacle. I don't dislike Binnacle as much as other people do. But it's not the best either. I'm going to put you, like, low, like high D tier. Barbaracle, on the other hand, I think it's pretty swell. I know it's supposed to be ugly, but I think that's kind of a part of its charm, really. And it's actually kind of imposing because of it. It's probably kind of short, too. It looks like it should be 8 feet tall or something, an imposing monster. But it isn't really that big. I'm gonna put you, like, high B tier, because at least you're pretty decent in battle. Water Rock, not the best type combo. But you can be a good Shell Smasher. You learn a lot of high critical hitting moves, like a Cross Chop and Stone Edge, for example. So you can run some sort of, which I don't remember if it gets focus energy, but you can always run some sort of scope lens set to really get those critical hits off. But Shell Smash, like Razor Shell, Rock Slide, or Stone Edge, and like Cross Chop again for coverage is kind of all you need there, and you can sweep teams with Tough Claws too as your ability, where Razor Shell and Cross Chop at least do more damage since there's no Rock type moves that make physical contact, weirdly enough. Unless you want to counter Rock type Ivy Congeal. But I don't think that should count here. Which actually, does that count as a contact? I don't remember. Anyway, Scrub. I've used this thing in Showdown Little Cup, and I'm actually really liking it. With adaptability, this thing can easily one-shot things in Little Cup. Because of how the levels work in Little Cup, because Pokemon are at low levels, they'll, on average, take more damage than Pokemon at much higher levels, like at level 100 to level 80 to level 80 mons. So, because of that, adaptability Scrub actually works decently well, and its typing is decently defensively as well in that tier. Because of that, I'm gonna put you in, mid B tier. Then I've always thought Scrub's design, it is, yes, ugly, but that's, again, just like with Barbaracle, it's kind of a part of its charm. It's kind of supposed to look like that. It's dried up kelp. Dried up kelp ain't supposed to look pretty, dude. So, yeah. Then, fun fact, it's the same typing as Tentacool, where Tentacool is a water poison type. This is a poison water type. The same fucking thing. Doesn't really matter. You have the same weaknesses, resistances, and all that, so it's basically the same thing. Just thought I'd share that. Anyway, Dragology, probably one of my favorite Pokemon this generation as well. I'm putting you high S tier. This thing is actually decently hard to kill. This thing can deal decent damage again with adaptability. There's a lot you can do with it, like Wide Herb, Draco Meteor, or Meteor Storm as I like to call it. I like Assault Vest sets, probably my favorite one. Either Assault Vest or Choice Spec sets are probably my favorite. Just because the amount of damage you can do with them is absurd, pairing with the adaptability. Or you want to take more of a special hit despite its naturally high special defense stat, so you can put more points in a special attack and HP or defenses to take other hits. It's actually surprisingly versatile, in the very first Poison Dragon type, long before Eternatus, long before Naganadel, all of that stuff. And I think that makes it super cool. Also gets a lot of neat coverage options, like Focus Miss. Yeah, Focus Miss. I like using that. And Shadow Ball, or Thunderbolt. It's actually really strong because of that. Now, Clauncher, A tier. Clauncher's super cool. It's got a nice sleek design. It looks relatively mean as well. This thing can shatter boulders with its arm. This thing's cool. This thing's basically Krabby or Corphish, but way, way cooler. Callouts are another one of my most favorite Pokemon this generation. Honestly, I think, yeah, let's put you here. I almost want to put him above Aegislash, and honestly, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to put him above Aegislash. I fucking love Clawitzer. Mega Launcher is such a good-ass ability, its design is cool, that big-ass arm cannon, man, this thing will blow you away. Especially in the current generation. Rain Dance, with another Pokemon, maybe Set of Drizzle, like Politoed, for example. Water Pulse, a lot of people like running Scald on it, at least pre-Generation 9. I don't know, I go with Water Pulse just because it's slightly stronger than Mega Launcher. I know Scald's burn chance is very useful, but I prefer Water Pulse for the power and the chance to confuse. That's just me personally, though. Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, or Dark Pulse. And, or an Ice type move if you want that coverage, even though it's not affected by Mega Launcher. All you need is Specs on this thing. Choice Specs is the only item you need on Callouts, and maybe Choice Scarf if you're worried about outspeeding things. But Choice Specs is all you fucking need. That's all you need. I'm dead serious. That's, Choice Specs is all you need on Callouts, or the only item that's important in it, other than maybe Choice Scarf if you're worried about not being able to outspeed things. You can also make it decently bulky with some HP or defense investment, which I've done in the past numerous times. Bro. Specs, Rain boosted in the current generation, Terra Water boosted. Water Pulses off a max special attack, Mega Launcher, and Specs? Bruh. If you're not a Dragon, Grass, or Water type, you are fucked. You are not taking the hit. You are not taking the hit. I dare anyone. I fucking, I bet a shiny Mega Mewtwo Y. I bet a shiny Arceus. That if you're not a Dragon Water or Grass type, you ain't taking that hit. You're not taking it. End of story. You're not taking it. And that's probably my favorite thing about this thing. It just has so many multipliers. It can just one-shot things if it damn well pleases under all those conditions. It's just... And if anyone wants to take me up on that challenge, please let me know in the comments below. But this thing, just try to survive one of those attacks. I dare you. Really. Water Pulse with all those conditions. The Rain, the Terra Water, the Max Special Attack, Choice Specs, etc., etc. And Mega Launcher. You will not live. You won't live. And that's the thing. It's so cool. It's so strong. And I like how it kind of jets forward with its giant arms, so it's got more of a purpose than just to blast things apart. It's just cool design, awesome in battle, especially with a little support, with like speed support with Tailwind or, again, Rain. This thing just deals damage, like, it just deals damage up the wazoo, and I just find that super awesome. Really, I truly do. Helioptile. Actually a cutie, in my opinion. I like how you find it in deserty areas, or I guess more rocky, mountainous areas, too. I'm gonna put you mid-B tier. Heliolisk, I like its sleek design. I kind of wish it had an evolution. Not the best in battle, though. You can do some decent solar power things with it. But one thing is, for a Pokemon that's based on solar power, why the hell doesn't it get Sunny Day or Solar Beam? Hell, Solar Beam would be a pretty decent coverage move for it as well. It's just weird that it doesn't get those moves. It's strange. It really is. And I'm pretty sure Helioptile and Heliolisk are in Sword and Shield, if I remember correctly, but they're not in Scarlet and Violet. Then their shinies are pretty decent as well. I tried making a Sun Heliolisk team back in Gen 6. It was alright, but far from the best thing that could have been made. But I do like its sleek design. It's alright in battle, though it could be better, and I hope it gets an evolution in the future. I honestly hope it gets an evolution in Legends ZA. I really hope to see that. Anyways, I think I'll put you, like mid-A tier. You got it right there. Tyrunt, okay, probably one of the best fossil Pokemon. Like, pre-evolved fossil Pokemon. I'm gonna put you in high A tier. Because you got a pretty cool design, you're decent early game, all that. Tyrantrum, far from the strongest Pokemon on this list, but I like this thing. Tyrantrum is awesome. I don't care what any of you say. Rock Dragon may not be the best type combo, but it's still the only Rock Dragon type to this day, I'm pretty sure, actually. But Strong Jaw, with, like, biting moves, the elemental bites, Poison Fang as well for coverage, though I think they should buff Poison Fang, personally. And honestly, I still want to make a petition for a Dragon-type biting move. Because I remember back when I was in elementary school, I used to make Fakemons. And I made this, and yeah, I know, call me weird, and this was back when Pokemon Black and White was the latest Pokemon game. I remember making this cat Pokemon that was a normal dark type, I believe, kind of similar to Lightbird. But I gave it this ability where it powers up Dragon type moves by 50%, and it learns a lot of Dragon type moves because this cat line has Dragon DNA or whatever weird dex entry I came up with back then. So, because of that, I gave it a move called Dragon Bite, I think. I forgot, or I think I gave it another move called Booster Tackle or some garbage. I forgot what it was. But, a Dragon-type biting move. That's like base 80 power or some garbage, if I remember correctly. And it was powered, and because of its ability, it basically gave it a third stab. And again, this was also before fairy types existed, too. So because of that, I called it Dragon Fang. I think that's what I called the move. Just like the item, I know. But still. And because of that, that's why I want a Dragon-type biting move, which I'm surprised, this was the perfect opportunity for them to do that, and they just didn't, or even a Rock-type biting move for that matter. That, like, I hope in a future game they give that to Tyrantrum, because that would actually help Tyrantrum quite massively, quite immensely. But other than that, I freaking love Tyrantrum. Imposing design, it's decent in battle, though it could be much better. It's also a decent user of Head Smash, I suppose, so I guess that's good, but I prefer using Strong Jaw over Rockhead, personally. But yeah, Tyrantrum, you're really cool. Amora. Let's see here. I like making jokes with this name, and I'm not going to say why, for safety reasons, but I think it's adorable as hell. Though, one gripe I do have with it is I found it hard to evolve, because I had it on my old team back when X and Y first came out. I still have that Aurorus, by the way, but I had to look up how to evolve it, because I kept leveling it up over and over, and it just wouldn't evolve. Guess this. It has to have max friendship, which it had, but you know what else it was missing? It had to evolve at night. How the hell was I supposed to know that? Again, another evolutionary method, which you're not going to know unless you look these things up. And back then, at least for a bit, I didn't know what Cerebi was until much later. Well, maybe not much later, a little bit later. But yeah. So, for a while, I was stuck with Amora throughout the main story before I finally got an Aurorus near the end of the game. Up to around, like, the 7th or 8th gym, I believe, which is way later than it should have been. So, because that Amora is going to be much lower, if it wasn't for that, I'd put it much higher. Perhaps even potentially put it in S tier, but nah. So Amaura, you're gonna go there for that reason. Aurora's, like its design. I don't like it as much as Tyrantrum, but I do like its design. I do have a slight soft spot using it, because again, I used it on my main team back when X and Y first came out. The problem is, Ice Rock sucks. If y'all heard me rant on about Hisui and Avalugg in my other videos, you know why I think Ice Rock sucks, so I don't think I need to repeat myself here. Just makes it really hard to use because of it. And that's a shame too, because I really like its ability to refrigerate. Before Mega Glalie existed, and the other abilities like Aerial Aid and Pixel Aid, well actually it's the same generation, same game, those were introduced, never mind. But I really like refrigerate. Ice-type Body Slam, or my favorite, Ice-type Hyper Beam. Yeah, I know, Hyper Beam isn't the most useful move to use, but I fucking love that move. And same with Giga Impact, I don't care what anybody says. And making Ice-type variants of those moves is absolutely destructive. And this is pre-nerfed Refrigerate before it only boosted the power of those moves by 20%, but now by 30%. Or it was 30% back in Gen 6 before it was nerfed in Gen 7. But because of how slow Aurora's is, it just makes it, and again, it's god-awful typing defensively, it makes it really hard to use. It's a shame. It really is. It just sucks because of that. Aurora was a lot better. I think I could at least make it feel better by putting it in the A tiers, but it's not going to change it in battle. Other than that, pretty neat design, slightly annoying evolutionary method, just not the best in battle, sadly. But it still earns it a high tier placement in both this tier and in my heart. Sylveon, another one of my favorite Pokemon this generation, probably my favorite of all the second favorite of all the evolutions. Flareon's still up there, I don't care what anybody says. I'm gonna put you low S tier. Very good in battle. Pixelate is a very strong ability, again my favorite. Fairy-type Hyper Beam, or Fairy-type Hyper Voice as it's more commonly used. I just wish it had more coverage options, really. Sure, it gets Shadow Ball and other psychic moves like Psychic and Psyshock, but in Generation 8, it got Mystical Fire, which for some reason it doesn't get in Generation 9, for whatever reason. Which is a decent coverage move for it, especially for those pesky steel types running around. Other than that, Sylveon still proves to be very cool. It's bulky, it can deal some good damage, Calm Mind setup if you really want to, it's got a lot going for it. Hawlucha, another one of the best Pokemon this generation. I will put you in mid-S tier. Like, I still remember, one of the things of X and Y, like, y'all know X and Y are considered very easy games, right? Well, there's this one trainer I remember was in Reflection Cave, the cave before Shalar City, and that trainer had a Hawlucha. I think most of my team was Mega Blaziken, my Greninja, the Amaura I was talking about earlier, my Talonflame, and I'll be honest, I don't remember what else I had on my team around that time. I know I had those four on there, though. Actually, my Charmeleon, I believe, I had on there before it turned into a Charizard. The Kanto starter you get from Professor Sycamore after the first gym leader, and I forgot what the last Pokemon was. But I remember I had that team. That Hawlucha in the Reflection Cave KO'd half my goddamn team with Frying Press. Which, again, at the time, I wasn't too familiar with Hawlucha, because new game at the time, you're not familiar with the stuff, and I didn't know its secondary effects and whatnot. So I ended up struggling against it because of that. Actually, my Greninja was a Frogadier at the time, but still. And that's very memorable to me. At least that specific moment was very memorable for me. Like it occurred to me, this thing can deal some serious damage, and fighting is a very good offensive type combo, as shown later with Galarian Zapdos and Flamigo. Like, there are very few Pokemon that resist that type combo. The only ones I can think of is just Aegislash and Base Form Rotom, and that's it. Like, anything else pretty much takes at least neutral damage from that type combo. So, yeah, it's very dangerous. You can run in burden sets with it. To, like, use up a Focus Sash, or like I like to do, Endure Weakness Policy, which is really busted. Get that +2 attack, pair that with Reversal to do huge damage. And Mold Breaker is good if you want to say, I don't know, maybe get a critical hit on a Pokemon with Battle Armor, for example. Because compared to other users of Mold Breaker, like, say, Escadrille, I don't think Hawlucha has many uses for it, but it's still pretty decent ability for it, in my opinion. I just prefer Unburden, I'd say. Other than that, Hawlucha is fucking dangerous if you're not prepared for it. So anytime you see that thing obliterate it fast, doesn't matter what generation or what game it's in. That was weird how the Mexican wrestler Pokemon is in a France-based region. That's one thing that I think is weird about it, but other than that. Dedenne, not the best Pika clone. It's adorable, yes, but there are much better Pika clones out there. I'll put you high C tier. Carbink. Kind of an underwhelming Pokemon. When I first saw Carbink back when X and Y first came out, I thought it was Ice type, and can you blame me? Look at its color scheme. And ice can look kind of crystalline, you know? So don't blame me for thinking it was Ice type. But yeah, Fairy Rock. I think it's still the only Fairy Rock type to this day alongside its mutation Deancey, but we'll get to that in a bit. Other than that, it's kind of lackluster in battles. It's meant to be very defensive, but can't deal much damage. And again, it's another victim of low HP but high defenses, which it doesn't matter how high your defenses are. If your HP is low, you're not going to take that many hits. Again, this design philosophy that it really weirds me out how Game Freak keeps doing that. Like, you keep giving these Pokemon low HP but high defenses. For what? And vice versa, high HP, low defenses. For what? They're not going to take as many hits because of that. Decent HP stat and high defenses, I think, is still pretty balanced. Other than that, it does get sturdy, which is alright. I mean, it's already super defensive. So, I don't mean alright in that conventional sense. I mean alright in the fact that you pair this thing with a Shedinja, give Shedinja sturdy, now Shedinja can't die to any normal attacks. You pretty much have to either status it or get up either Hail back then, before it was turned to Snow, and Sandstorm as a way to deal with it, which Sandstorm also pairs pretty well with Garbink to make it more defensive. So, in my opinion, I really like that. And now Garbink will have a Wonder Guard. Sure, Garbink has way more weaknesses than, right? Way more weaknesses than Shedinja, I think. I gotta look back on that fact. But it's got some same amount of weaknesses as Garbink, as Shedinja, excuse me. But Shedinja getting sturdy is really the main part of that strategy. So I've always wanted to do something like that, but I never really got the chance. So I might go back into Sword and Shield one of these days and go do that. Sadly, Shedinja isn't in Scarlet and Violet for very obvious reasons, which is a very good thing. But other than that, going slightly off topic, I'm going to put you in the mid-D tier. Because outside of that little strategy, you don't really have much use for you. Your Piss weak to Steel-type moves. You don't really do much else other than utility stuff and taking a few hits, and that's it, which is a little sad. And Gumi. When I first saw Gumi, I thought it was a poison type. Can you blame me? It looks kind of slimy. But other than that, Gumi's adorable. I like this thing, though. It's kind of terrible to use and probably the weakest Dragon-type Pokemon until it evolves, which is, again, a part of its charm for it to be kind of weak like that. It even states that in the Pokedex. So, I would put Gumi high A tier, because I think it's adorable and whatnot. Sliggoo. It's got that little slime shell on it. I'll put it right in the same spot as Gumi. Also adorable, and I like its Pokedex entry on how it'll try not to dissolve you, but it could still dissolve you, even if you're a friend. So, it's got to maintain some self-control right there. My only gripe with Sliggoo, though, well, other than it being a middle stage evolution, is probably the weakest of all the middle stage pseudo-legendary Pokemon, is, again, it's another victim of that horrid evolution method stuff. How am I supposed to know that I need it to be in the rain at level 50 or higher for it to evolve? How am I supposed to know that? How? And here's the funny part about it. It learns Rain Dance, but it can't be self-imposed rain. It has to be natural rain in the overworld for it to count. And that's still the case to this day in Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet. It don't matter. In Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. It don't matter. At least in Legends Arceus, you can kind of manipulate the weather somewhat in that game. You can't do that in Scarlet and Violet. You can't do that in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Nope. You can't do that in Sword and Shield. Just gotta hope and pray it starts raining, right? I mean, I guess in Sword and Shield it's more likely because of the wild area in that game, but still. You just gotta look up on your map, see where it's raining. But in Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion, especially when I was trying to evolve a Sliggoo into a Goodra, it was a little annoying. It took forever for rain to show up. Other than that, you're going in A tier Sliggoo. Goodra, aside from that, again, god-awful evolution method, which I hope they don't repeat in the future. So far, it looks like they haven't, but I still hope they don't ever go back to that. Goodra, I'm putting you highest tier. Yeah, highest tier. It may be considered the worst competitively of all the pseudo-legendaries, but it's bulky. It's low, like, people, like, it is bulky, but people say it's low defense, that kind of lets it go. Acid Armor. Just use Acid Armor. You know how many times I've, like, maximized the Goodra's special attack or HP or special defense in HP, and I just give it Acid Armor along with the leftovers, and it's basically unkillable, and if you really want to, it can learn Life Dew. So, even though that move is more useful in doubles than it is in singles, that's still a form of a reliable recovery right there, again, paired with the leftovers, and your naturally high special defense stat, your good HP stat of base 90, and Acid Armor to patch up that weak defense stat. If you can get those off, and again, combine that with Terrestrialization, either Terra Water or Terra Fire being great defensive typings for Goodra, as well as Goodra learning many coverage moves that go with that, Muddy Water and Flamethrower, Goodra can be surprisingly unkillable, whether we're talking its Kelosian form or its Hisuian form, but let's ignore its Hisuian form for the moment. This thing is, and Pure Dragon's a decently defensive typing, even with Fairy types rolling around. Hell, imagine if Goodra existed before Fairy types were a thing. Like, I think this thing would be even more unkillable than it already is. Goodra, people underestimate this thing. Sure, it can't deal a lot of damage, even though it has base 110 special attack, which is a good special attack stat. That's not low. Maybe it's not low. It can deal good damage. It maybe isn't one-shotting things left and right like Sci-High Dragon can, but it's a good defense stat. It's a good special attack stat, so it can deal decent damage along with its good coverage. But that's really not the main point of Goodra. It's meant to be an unkillable wall, and in my opinion, it does that pretty well. Even its closing form. It does it pretty well, from my experience and in my opinion. I don't care what nobody says. Goodra's awesome. As well as its gooey ability. Oh, until Wugtrio got it, which, why? We'll get to that another day, but Gooey's an awesome ability. It's a nice little way to punish physical attackers as well. And again, after all the unkillable setup I mentioned with Goodra, it's a nice answer for physical attacking Pokemon that might try to snowball a little too much. And even if Goodra does manage to fall to that, it sets it up perfectly for its partner to come in and clean up the rest. Goodra is awesome. This thing is versatile. This thing can deal some okay damage, and it takes hits left and right. People need to stop underestimating Kelosi and Goodra. It is not the worst of pseudo legendaries. Hell, none of the pseudo legendaries are bad competitively. They're all good in their own ways, in my opinion. So yeah, Goodra, you're going in high S tier, mainly because of that. Klefki. Probably one of the most annoying Pokemon to fight, at least back in Gen 6. I still remember in the Battle Mason, again, when I used to play that all the time back in middle school. Bro, anytime I ran into a Klefki, I always had trouble with it, and for years I never truly understood why I had trouble with that. I'm gonna put, before I keep going on with that, I'm gonna put you, because I do really like this thing. Put you, not there. I'm gonna put you in low A tier. I think that's a good placement. But, before I get into my ramble, anyone think King Klefki kind of looks like a Kingdom Hearts enemy? Like, I always thought it looked like a Heartless or something. Like, it does, like, look at it. Like, there should be a regional variant of this thing. It's like Dark Steel type or something that, like, collects Keyblades just as a reference or some garbage. I hope that happens someday. But other than that, or maybe make a Mega Evolution for it in Legends ZA that's something like that. It's a nice Kingdom Hearts reference. I hope they do that, please. Please, I hope they do that. Anyways, the reason why Klefki was as annoying as it is, well, two major answers. One, Prankster, we all know how annoying that ability can be. Prankster Thunder Waves are annoying, and this was pre-nerfed Thunder Wave, back when Thunder Wave was still 100% accuracy, back when it was still a 50% chance for you not to move, back when it still quartered your speed rather than having your speed, so that shit was broken as hell. You could get up screens with it. Crafty Shield, which basically nullifies all status moves, so you try to burn it, you try to paralyze it, nope, gets up Crafty Shield. Fairy Lock, which, does anyone use that move? I think it had a glitch in Generation 7 where it would crash the game for a while, either its Z variant would do that. But, yeah, nobody was really using that move. Preventing everybody from switching out, yeah, nobody's really using that move. I mean, I guess it could be a pseudo, like, Shadow Tag strategy, but who's gonna use it? Just use Shadow Tag Pokemon. Anyways, and the other thing, it's typing. Steel Fairy. The best defensive typing in the game. Only has two weaknesses to ground and fire. This motherfucking Klefki in the Battle Mason is the reason why any of the teams I made, at least back in the 3DS games, more specifically X, Y, and Oris, is why I always carried a fire or ground type Pokemon, or at least something with one of those moves, on all my teams in that game. Because I swear, anytime I ran into this thing and I didn't have something like, say, a Mega Charizard X, for example, I always struggled trying to kill it. Always struggled. And I always had Drain Kiss on it too for decent recovery as well. Its stats aren't even the best, though. Its defensive stats are alright. Base 57 HP isn't good, but what is that? Base 91 defense and 87 special defense? It's actually pretty decent, even pairing with its lackluster HP stat. Still, it's its typing and its ability that really gets it along, and it can be very annoying if you're not prepared for it. Though, at the same time, once you know it, Klefki is actually pretty decent to counter. So, in my opinion, Klefki's a perfect example of a Pokemon that kind of teaches you a lesson on team building. To always be prepared for certain types like Steel and Fairy, probably two of the most best types in the game. So, it's a decent lesson in my opinion from that. Anyways, enough of my ramble with that. We're almost done with this list. Phantump. Or as I like to call him, is Danny Phantump. Let me stop. Phantump's adorable. Probably one of my favorite pre-evolved ghost types. Yeah, I know, it's a cutie. I'm gonna put you in... Yeah, let's put you in mid-A tier. My only gripe with it, again, a trait evolution. Why is it a trait evolution? Anyways, Trevenant, I wish its stats were a bit better. It's good attack. I like that it gets Harvest. Its design is awesome. Honestly, I think I'll put him in low S tier. I'll put him behind Sylveon. I'm going to put you in low S tier, because I really, really like your design. You're actually pretty decent in battle. Harvest is always a neat ability. This thing's cool. He's just super cool. Pumpkaboo. I like its gimmick on how it gets to change sizes. So you catch a bigger one, it'll be much slower, but have higher HP. But if you get a smaller one, it'll have less HP, but be much faster. Though I just prefer going for the HP, so you have something defensive. And Grass Ghost is an alright type defensively. Far from the best, but it's alright. Pumpkaboo, I think I'll just... And I do like Monkey Boo's design as well. Almost looks like a Kirby enemy to me as well, now that I look at it a little more deeply. And fun fact about it, in its evolution state, Gourgeist can learn fire moves like Flamethrower and Fire Blast. I think it was the first example of a grass type being able to learn fire moves, which is awesome, long before Scoville and fire type Ogerpon existed. So I think that's pretty cool. Pretty neat. Yeah, personally, I think I would prefer running it defensively over running a fast one. Because yeah, if you're going to run a fast one, you're going to need a little speed support with it, like Tailwind, for example. Or like Electro Web / Icy Wind. But Gourgeist, I do like its little hair style and hair hands looking thing. I think that's pretty neat. So I want to put you, I'm going to put you in a, yeah, like mid A tier. I think it's pretty decent. It's alright in battle. Far from the best Ghost Grass type in battle, but it's pretty decent. I do like its size gimmick and the fact that I can learn fire moves, because it's technically a Jack-o'-lantern as well. Bergmite. I do like your name. Your design's alright. Though, for the longest time, I think of all the Generation 6 Pokemon, again, back when X and Y first came out, Bergmite was the only Pokemon I didn't see throughout the entire playthrough for most of the game, even after beating the champion. Because it's an obscure Pokemon that is very easy to miss in Frost Cavern, I believe the place was called, where you find these things. Because of that, I don't know, I want to put you in low seeds here. I'm alright with your design, but you're weirdly obscure to find, and it's just a little annoying. At least in X and Y. In other games, it's a little easier to find them, but... And again, if it wasn't for Wolfric, the Ice-type gym leader, having its evolution Avalugg, I would have never known this thing existed for a while. I'll be dead honest. Could have easily been the case if that didn't, if, you know, Wolfric didn't have an Avalugg, but yeah. Avalugg, look, I like Avalugg's design. I think Avalugg could have worked really well too. Huge defense stat, decent HP stat, good attack stat. It's clearly meant to be a tank, a physical tank more specifically, and hit back, which it does that job well. Here's the issue. One, it's an ice type, and we all know how notoriously bad ice types are defensively. And two, its special defense and speed stats are god fucking awful. Why does Game Freak insist on making slow ice types that are meant to take hits? Not even special, it's just physical hits in this case. Why does Game Freak insist on making that? Why? It's a dumb design choice. Like, ice types like Weavile or Shenpao or Mamoswine, which are faster than most ice types like Avalugg over here, tend to be much better Pokemon because their stats are more geared towards what the ice type was made for. If Avalugg was like a steel type or a... not fairy type. If it was a steel type or a poison type, you know, some types that are more well-rounded in defense, I could see it being super good. Really good, in fact. But no, let's give it fucking pure ice type. For what? And again, its design is cool, just it sucks in battle. And I hear it's a good counter for like Black Kyurem back in Generation 7, back when Z-moves were a thing. So I guess it's got its niche there, but... and it gets sturdy, I guess, so that's good for special attacks. But other than that, this thing is just... bad at, mostly kind of bad at its job being able to take hits outside of physically defensive hits. Special hits, that's just how you can easily take it out. I still remember Wolfric's Avalugg taking a Blaze Kick from a Mega Blaziken at the time. Remember that event, the Blaziken event that you can get when the game first came out. I still have that old paper, by the way. But, with the code on it. But yeah, so at least that's kind of memorable for it. And again, it's got a cool design. I just wish it was way better in battle. Or if it was just, hell, if it was just a different typing, it would have been better. Anything but ice, like, good lord. Anything that's more defensive than ice or bug. Like, come on, man. Just Game Freak with their baffling-ass design choices. But anyways, enough of my rambling. It sucks ass in battle, so I'm gonna put you, like, low B tier, sadly. But I do like it enough not to put it in C tier or lower. Noibat? Noibat's fun, I like this thing. It's adorable. Though, it does take forever to level up. Not level up, evolve. It doesn't evolve to level 48, which in my opinion is kind of worth it. So I'm gonna put you mid-A tier. Because you're adorable and cool, too. Noivern. Again, another one of the best Pokemon this generation. I will put you below Hawlucha, because Hawlucha is probably my second favorite flying type this gen. With Noivern being a very close third. Very cool, it's very good in battle, it's very fast, probably one of the best non-prankster Tailwind setters. Well, pre-Generation 9 because, you know, certain Paradox Pokemon, but again, discussion for another day. It's got decent coverage options as well in Flamethrower, or Earth, it doesn't learn Earth Power, what am I saying, but Boom Burst is probably the main, it's like the poster child of Boom Burst as well, alongside Exploud, which I think pre-Gen 7, back in Generation 6, I'm pretty sure, actually before, let me word this better, before Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, I think Noivern and Exploud were the only users of Boom Burst, because in Oris, I believe Swellow could also learn it, but before that game, yeah, it was just Noivern and Exploud were the only Pokemon that could learn Boom Burst. Now way more Pokemon can learn it, but back then, those were the only users of it. And in my opinion, Boom Burst is a crazy good move. It's basically normal type Earthquake, but much higher power and a special attack. And get a Ghost type on the side, maybe a Ghost type that might know Helping Hand. And in the current generation, Generation 9, Terra Normal that motherfucker. Boomburst, and then pair with Throat Spray, pair fucking Boomburst again. Nordrun is going to do some damage. And it's fast enough, too. If you want to run Modest Nature, you can instead of running Timid. If you're that worried about it. Which, personally, just keep running Timid with Throat Spray, in my opinion. But, yeah. This thing is very good. And getting other cover, like, main, what am I call stab options. Air Slash is always good, and it pairs well with its high speed. Meteor Storm is always awesome. Like, all that. Nordrun is such a cool Pokemon. Alright, now we're on to the legendaries. We're all done with the normal Pokemon. Xerneas. Okay, Xerneas' strategy of Power Herb Geomancy is absolutely broken, and in Generation 7, you could run Z Geomancy, get an Omni boost on it, making you likely to take a one attack, and then you get the main boost afterwards, and you just basically win the game from there. Because of that, a lot of people developed a bunch of strategies around trying to counter Xerneas, which, I mean, that's how metagames are. It's not just in Pokemon. You see that in main sports events. You see that in Smash Bros. Yada yada. But it's just how the metas develop. But Xerneas, just with that strat alone, depending on which generation it's in, Power Herb or Z Geomancy, those are pretty much the only two items you ever need on Xerneas. And because of that, it ends up being extremely broken, almost to an unhealthy degree. It's a legendary Pokemon. It's supposed to be that way. A Boxer legendary, more specifically. But yeah. And it's based on the Yggdrasil tree as well, so that's pretty cool lore. Anyways, I'm going to put you high A tier. Like, yeah, I don't think there's really anything in particular causing, like, maybe one thing that kind of keeps me from wanting to put in S tier is that it has a second form, its neutral form, that it's literally just there for when it's out of battle. That's it. Anyways, alright. My favorite box art legendary Pokemon, Yveltal. Or I guess as those of you MNJ fans out there would say, Yveltal. I refuse. I can't finish that sentence. Yveltal, I'm just gonna keep with that. Or Eviltal, some people say. I say Yveltal. S tier, you know what? Yeah, I fucking love this thing. It'll stay where it's at, S tier. Easily my favorite box art legendary. Stepping of Dark Flying, I've always said, was a bit of a bland type combo, but here, this is probably one of the few times where it's actually really, really good. Alongside Honchkrow, of course. I love its signature move, Oblivion Wing, which is part of the reason why I want a leash Pokemon that literally learns HP sucking moves like Giga Drain and Leech Life and whatnot, and gets an ability that makes those moves stronger, as well as you being able to absorb 75% of the damage you deal, rather than just 50%. And that's the secondary effect of Oblivion Wing, as well as that cool name in its Japanese name being Deathwing, which is super awesome. So, yeah, because of that, and honestly, if they ever make a Leech Pokemon like that, just for fun, I'd give it an Oblivion Wing. I don't care if it doesn't make much sense outside of it being an HP sucking move. I don't care. It's so cool, and I like its Pokedex entry about how if it dies, everything else around it dies, because it's the literal Pokemon embodiment of death. That's saying something, dude. This thing is just death incarnate. This thing is like Nyx from Persona 3. This thing is just death. Damn it, now I want to see Nyx from Persona 3 fight Yveltal. Who do you think would win? Let me know in the comments below. But anyways, that's also another discussion for another day for the inevitable Persona 3 playthrough, or 3 Reload playthrough. But yeah. Anyways, 10% Zygarde. Technically not a Gen 6 Pokemon, but I'm going to rank it anyways. And if it shows up on the Gen 7 tier list, I'm just going to ignore it. It's a doggo. I'm going to put in low S tier. It's not the best in battle, though its stats are pretty decent. Ground Dragon's a pretty neat type combo. It's a dog. It kind of reminds me of Beast Boy's dog form from Teen Titans, actually. Other than that, he's cool. And he runs very fast as well. And the Pokedex confirms that as blinding speed or whatever. Perfect Zygarde. Who do you think will win in a fight? Perfect Zygarde or Perfect Chaos from Sonic Adventure? Who do you think will win? I'm genuinely curious. Let me know that in the comments as well. Anyways, put a low S tier as well. This thing is super cool. It's not too hard to activate, though. It's boss fighting the Dynamax dens in a Pokemon Sword Shield. That can go to hell. That shit is super hard. Try Shiny Hunting that shit. I'm never doing that. I don't care. You can gift me 1,000,000 subs and I wouldn't do it. Now, 1,000,001 subs, maybe, but 1,000,000 subs, nah, bro. I don't like this thing. I don't like fighting that thing, and specifically in that. But other than that, Perfect Zygarde's actually really cool. I like its gimmick. I just wish it hit harder as well. I'd put it higher in S tier if it just hit harder. Base 100 attack, I believe, and 91 special attack just isn't enough. Especially with its signature moves. And fun fact about Zygarde, it has the most signature moves of any Pokemon before. Land's Wrath, which is basically just a stronger, I think it's a weaker Earthquake on it. Actually, yeah, it's a weaker Earthquake. But with a cooler name. Land's Wrath is a pretty cool name. 1,000 Arrows, 1,000 Waves, and Core Enforcer. So, though, that was the only one of its 4 signature moves that was introduced in the later generation than where it was introduced. But other than that, it's pretty cool, actually, with all of its signature moves, its stat spread being mostly a super tanky Pokemon. Which weird, unlike how Terapagos' Stellar Form works, it doesn't recover that HP back when it gains more HP from its base stats. It's still half afterwards. Which I hope whenever they do bring back a Perfect Zygarde, again, Legends EA, they change that. Other than that, 50% Zygarde. Nice little Serpentine Pokemon. I'll put it high A tier. Because it at least looks pretty cool. It's not the best in battle, but once you get that power constructability off, it's pretty neat. And it's also literally made to counter both Xerneas and Yveltal with its main ability, Aura Break, breaking their Dark Aura or Fairy Aura attack, depending on, which one you're opposing. But other than that, Mega Diancie, we're ignoring Diancie. Okay, this thing's adorable. It's pretty as hell. I love its design. It's basically Carbink, but with higher attack stats, pretty much. It has the same speed stats, same defense stats, and same HP stat, just, again, higher offenses. And Diamond Storm, not to mix it up with the move from Digimon that Renamon has, but Diamond Storm, pretty cool move. I think it has a chance to raise your defense, like 50% chance to raise your defense by one stage, which, I think Diancie gets Body Push, which pairs really well with that move. So, I might even make a VGC team around Diancie at some point. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But anyways... Actually, just gonna think a new idea. But anyways, I think we should put you. Put it above Go-Goat. I think it's pretty as hell. It's one movie it starred in. That movie was kind of lackluster, but I think it was adorable in that movie. I don't know. Been some time since I watched it, but other than that. Pretty neat Pokemon, and all that stuff. One thing about its Mega, I'm not gonna rank it, but one thing about its Mega, I remember when it was first announced alongside Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire back in 2014, a friend of mine used to say it kind of looks like a girl going to prom, like she's in a prom dress, and I can see it, really. Also looks like one of those Shadowleers, but again, that's a discussion for another day. Hoopa Bound. Okay, this guy's cool. Again, like I mentioned with Malamart's typing sucks, but its signature move of, what is it called? Hyperspace Fury, which it can only use in this form, is super awesome. I loved its animation in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which weirdly enough, that move doesn't exist in X and Y. Not in the game's code either, neither is Hooper Unbound. But I like how it just punches you over and over again with as many fists and it's just laughing in the background. That's fucking hilarious to me. But anyways, I will put you... I think mid-S tier is really cool, because I absolutely love this thing's design. It's a beast in battle, even though its typing isn't the best. Give it like an Assault Vest with its already naturally high special defense stat. Tank special attacks even more, maybe give it some investment in defense or HP. Really, it needs help with its defense stats. So pair it with like a Reflect user or something and it would be really good. Alright. Hoopa Confined. Its typing is slightly better than some bound form, though, again, Psychic Ghost isn't much better than Psychic Dark, let's be real. Anyways, why did I grab on a Slugoo just now? Anyways, I'll put it highest here. Because I do like, it's not fast, base 80 speed is not that fast. Especially in today's current meta, with things like Flutterman running around. But Focus Sash with like Nasty Plot, and all you need is Hyperspace Hole, which I think that move goes through Protect if oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that move goes through Protect, I think, if I remember correctly. I gotta look it up, but I think it does go through Protect. But anyways. Thunderbolt is decent coverage for it, and then Shadow Ball for its other stab. And there you go. And yeah, this thing's got a good special attack stat, I think, of base 160, which is very high. And weirdly enough, this is one of those Pokemon that looks kind of different in-game than its official art. I don't know, it looks different compared to its in-game appearance to its official art. I think it's just the art style of Pokemon X and Y and the 3DS Pokemon sprites that caused that, honestly. But yeah. And I do like its gimmick of how it can literally use rings to teleport and whatnot. Sonic the Hedgehog having ass, but yeah. Alright, and now for the final Pokemon, Volcanion. Okay, I remember, before Pokemon X and Y came out, I remember telling my older brother that I always wanted to see a water-fire type. And back then, again, that was also my most wanted type combo. Again, long before me wanting ground fighting, or Dragon Bug, or Psychic Poison, which were all type combos I wanted at some point until they eventually happened. Now, Volcanion, I'm putting in S tier. Absolutely love this thing's design. Yeah, let's put it right here. I think that's fair. Absolutely love its design, though some people think it looks like a weird beach toy or something, but I like its design. Its signature move is literally just a stronger Scald with a little less accuracy. And funny, before the Pokemon Skull and Violet DLCs, it was the only Pokemon in the game that could get Scald, but before Pokemon Home came out, you couldn't even get it. So what was the point of only giving it Scald, and then you give it Scald to more Pokemon later on? Whatever. But thematically, Fire Water is such a damn cool type combo, like, honestly. Honestly, thematically, of all 153 different type combos, easily the best one, thematically, in my opinion. Though, battle-wise, it does leave a little bit to be desired. Neither type can touch Dragon or Water types for neutral damage, so be careful of that. Though, it does get other coverage options like Earth Power and Sludge Wave, And Flash Cannon, I believe it gets as well. It's a really good Scarf user. Again, it's not the fastest thing, just like Koopa Confined. It's not the fastest thing, only based like 80 speed, I believe. But that's easily patched up with a Choice Scarf, which is the main set I like to go with. And Water Absorb is also very good for it. You can always Terra Fire it in the current generation, make its survival time move stronger, give it a few less weaknesses, it loses its weakness to Electric. And there you go. There you go. Though it does, and actually it doesn't have the weakness to Water. And Water handles both Rock and Ground types, so fucking Volcanion with a Choice Scarf is basically unstoppable at that point. With its good special attacks out of 130 as well. And then Volcanion was really cool in its movie. Pokemon and Volcanion or whatever, and the Marvelous McGearn or some garbage, I forgot what it was called, but yeah. Let me know in the comments below if you remember the title of that movie. But anyways, ignoring whatever the fuck gameplay aesthetic is, I still don't really know what that is. Ignoring these two over here, since one's technically a Mega Evolution, the other is. This is my Generation 6 tier list. Definitely much higher opinions of these Pokemon compared to some other Pokemon in previous tier lists. But yeah, this is my Generation 6 tier list. So everybody who hasn't already subscribed, please consider subscribing so we can get to 600 subs. Did I say 650 earlier in the video? Excuse me. I'm being dumb. This is a 600 sub special. So tune in, keep subscribing so we can hit 650 subs. And we can get on to doing the Generation 7 tier list. Anyways, if you all enjoyed this and you want to see more, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and follow if you happen to know about my Twitch channel. Hit one of the videos you see on screen right now. As well, video sponsored by the wonderful peeps at W. Just click the link in the description below. Use the code provided to get a wonderful discount on your wonderful energy drink order. I recommend the Dragonade flavor. As well, what is your opinion on this video? Let us know that feedback so we can use that feedback for future vids. As well, answer the question of the day. What is your, if you want to take the time, what is your opinion on every single Pokemon introduced in Generation 6, not counting Mega Evolutions? Let us know. And consider becoming a YouTube member for exclusive access to content just like my Pokemon Insurgence playthrough, and as well as other future playthroughs. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a berrific day.